Dalangin po tayo. Amang nasa langit, Diyos na dakila sa lahat, sa ngalan po ng aming tagapagligtas na si Jesucristo, kami po'y lumalapit sa banal niyo pong harapan, humihingi po ng awa, nagabayan po kami sa aming pag-aaral upang makamit po namin ang aming ministry. Bigyan niyo po ng karunungan ang aming mga ngaral upang kami makapaghanda sa aming mga pag-aaralan at sa darating naming board exam. Lahat lang pong ito'y dinadalangin po namin sa ngalan po ng aming tagapagligtas. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jamel. So, tonight we have a new topic, which is, can you, okay. We have a new topic, history and foundation of planning and environmental planning. So this is just an overview. It consists of 7 items spread in the different levels of the Bloom's taxonomy. 2 items remembering, 3 applying level, and then evaluating. So there are 7 questions under this topic, and we have subtopics 2.1 to 2.3. So um that one's this section now focuses on the evolution of planning and environmental planning from the 19th century to the present. So it's very specific in 2.1. Um, so it covers key ideas, theories, and milestones that have shaped the field, highlighting how urbanization, industrialization, and environmental concerns influence planning practices. The study of planning history helps us understand the motivations behind early planning efforts, such as addressing public health crisis and improving urban living conditions. So concepts like zoning, comprehensive planning, sustainable development emerged to tackle these challenges. So there are key planning movements covered in this section, which we will be having in a separate, it's more in-depth discussion on this section later after we finish the table of specifications. There are key planning movements if you are familiar about this. We have um, the Garden City movement I think it started in 1898. It was introduced by Ebenezer Howard, and he promoted balanced urban-rural communities. Isn't it, if you remember that? So, he proposed this, Ebenezer Howard proposed this, which was aimed to create self-sustaining communities that balance urban and rural life. So, what are the key features of the Garden City movement? It's a structured, number one, it's a structured layout with green belts to prevent urban sprawl. Second, it featured separation of industrial, residential, and agricultural zones. Also, it promoted yeah, one of the features is the promotion of local economies within planned communities. And so Howard's model served as an early precursor to modern smart growth strategies that we have now, where we emphasize decentralizations and self-sufficiency, among others. So we also have key concepts and in within this context, key concepts and theories in planning history, we also have the Beautiful movement. So it's just one of those famous movements from late 19th to early 20th century. The City Beautiful movement emerged in response to chaotic and overcrowded urban conditions, focusing on aesthetics, civic pride to enhance the quality of life. So, planners and architects such as Daniel Barnham advocated for number one, grand boulevards and public spaces. Second, he also advocated for monumental architecture to inspire civic virtue. Also, he advocated for urban beautification as a tool for social improvement. So while this movement or this concept or this theory was criticized for prioritizing form over function, the movement laid the groundwork for integrating urban design into planning. So, and then it was followed by some movements on modern urban planning in the mid 20th century, and so with increasing urban complexity, planning shifted toward functionality and efficiency, focusing on one, zoning regulations to separate land uses and prevent incompatible activities. It then also there was this comprehensive planning that guided long-term growth and infrastructure development. And then there's also the emergence of regional planning to address cross-boundary challenges. So this period introduced regulatory frameworks such as the zoning ordinances and land use planning instruments still used today. So, and then environmental awareness in planning came about in late 20th century to present, uh, as the impacts of industrialization became more evident, planning practices began to incorporate environmental considerations. So we had key milestones, which include the rise of sustainability as a core planning principle. And then there's the introduction of environmental impact assessments or the EIAs to evaluate project feasibility. And then we had MDGs, followed by the SDGs and climate action policies also. So contemporary planning now emphasizes resilience, resource management, and the integration of ecological systems in urban development. So those are some of the key points under number two. So we can now go to 2.1. Okay, 2.1. Identify key ideas, meanings, and theories in planning and environmental planning historically from the 19th centuries. Okay, move sa 2 point. Okay, there. There you go. So, to the present. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, planning and environmental planning have evolved over the years. So in response to changing societal needs, technological advancement, and what else? Environmental concerns. So the 19th century marked significant developments in urban planning driven by, so I mentioned also about industrialization, public health challenges, and the need for organized urban growth. So I also mentioned the key ideas, theories, and planning from the 19th century onward, where number one, so there was industrial revolution, so and urban planning, whereby rapid urbanization led to overcrowding, poor sanitation, and health crisis. So prompting early urban planning efforts focus on zoning and infrastructure movements. So example, the development of sanitation systems and zoning laws to address overcrowding in European cities. So I'm done with Garden City movement, City Beautiful. Then, what else? Okay, so we for 2.2, Jen. So, appraise the successes or and failures in early planning efforts and approaches. So, 2% to items under evaluating level. So each or early planning efforts were shaped by the need to address the rapid urbanization and industrialization of the 19th and early 20th centuries. So some of these approaches were successful in improving urban conditions, while others faced significant challenges due to limited knowledge, resources, and unforeseen social and environmental consequences. So I think I also mentioned earlier on the successes in early planning efforts like sanitation, improvement, zoning laws, urban beautification projects, but also there were a number of failures in early planning efforts such as social inequality, like early planning often neglected marginalized communities leading to social segregation and lack of access to resources and opportunities, like for example uh during the during those times that where housing policies favored wealthier districts while ignoring lower income areas. And then there was also during the City Beautiful movement, whereby some where they prioritize visual appeal over practical urban functions, leading to underutilized spaces. So it's one of those um yeah, considered like small failures, and then it worsened due to the continuity of the City Beautiful movement. But also we cannot say it's it's absolute, because there were also successes under City Beautiful movement. Then some issues on environmental considerations, like many early planning efforts did not account for long-term environmental impacts, leading to issues like pollution and habitat destruction. So that's why there were um, like, for example, the unchecked expansion of industrial cities without sustainable practices. So we can go to the last topic there on number two is 2.3, apply key concepts, theories, and paradigms in environmental planning in the context of sustainable development. 3%, three items. So under remembering, uh, this is applying. Three. Okay, applying. Ang hirap pa no na if it's a blank one there. So you need to memorize all the columns, the six columns there to be able to quickly determine the number of items. So 2.33 under what again? Applying. So 2.3, key concepts, okay. So environmental planning is grounded in various concepts, theories, and paradigms that guide development of sustainable communities. So these frameworks help planners address economic, social, and environmental challenges in a balanced and integrated manner. So there are key concepts that we need to focus under 2.3, like sustainability. So we have MDG, then it became SDG. So what do we need to pay attention when we are talking about sustainability? It means that we need we there should be efforts in meeting present needs without compromising future generations' ability to meet theirs. So, for example, incorporating renewable energy sources into urban plans. So it's one of those sustainability efforts. Then there's also the concept of carrying capacity, whereby it's about the ability of an environment to support a population without degradation. So how do we apply this? By assessing land use limits in urban expansion projects. Then the concept on resilience, whereby the capacity of communities, it's about the capacity of communities to withstand and recover from environmental shocks. Like we need to design flood resilient infrastructure in coastal cities, for example. Then also integrated planning. It's a holistic approach that considers environmental, social, and economic dimensions by developing, for example, mixed-use communities that reduce urban sprawl. Now, there are also precautionary principles like taking preventive action in the face of uncertainty to avoid environmental harm, like conducting EIAs before large projects should be approved or should commence. So then we have theories and paradigms in environmental planning like sustainable development paradigms. I mentioned already that focuses on balancing growth with environmental stewardship, like promoting green building certifications and new developments. And then we also have ecosystem-based management or nature-based solutions like managing natural resources, considering ecological relationships and human activities. Like you cannot apply, or we need to do some coastal zone management that balances tourism and conservation. Then not really very recently, but some of those contemporary strategies like smart growth theory, where it encourages compact, transit-oriented, and walkable urban design by promoting public transport systems over car dependency, things like that. So, okay, so I think we're now ready to share that, so that I can share also the questions now. So we only have 7 questions under those. Let me see. You can see like hmm, 2.3. Ay, sorry. Should be 3. Should be 2 point, sorry. Should be 2.1, right? Okay, here. So, okay, 7%, 7 items, right? So broken down to 3 subtopics, 2.1. So you can see there for 2.1, there are 2 items under remembering. So all are easy questions here because that's the first column, which means that's the easiest uh, that we can predict as a under 2.1. So, which planning theory introduced by Ebenezer Howard emphasized self-contained communities surrounded by green belts? Answer, you can unmute. So that let's see if we can do that right away.
Letter C, ma'am.
Letter C, ma'am.
Very correct. So, because letter A is it says City Beautiful movement focus on aesthetics and beautification rather than functional urban layouts. They are incorrect. So C, because Ebenezer Howard's Garden City movement aimed to create balanced communities with residential, industrial, and green spaces. Correct. So we can go. Okay.
B, ma'am.
B po.
Correct. Okay. That's very correct. So can you tell me why?
As you have said a while ago, yung City Beautiful movement focus mainly in aesthetic and moral quality of urban areas rather than the functionality of the design, ma'am.
Okay, that's very correct. So I hope everyone is following. 9, 10. Okay. So we're now on 2.2. Okay. Appraise the success and failures in early planning efforts and approaches. So and there are two items under evaluating. So it means that it's a bit tricky than the first 2.1. Okay, answer.
Letter B po.
Okay, letter B, that's very correct. Lack of consideration for social equity. I hope you're following because early planning efforts often fail to address the needs of lower income. I think I mentioned also in
Kakasya lang
my
yung negative.
quick or brief. Okay, continue. Leading to social inequalities and urban segregation. That's correct. And then we can go. So there are two. Okay. Two items. So that's and we can move to 2.3. So mabilis tayo tonight, di ba? So,
Letter C po.
who's talking?
Sigford po.
Okay. See, why?
Na-mention po kasi kanina ma'am na yung parang yung pinakauna ginawa sa planning po is nag-focus po sa public health and yung sanitation, yung infrastructure po.
Yes, that's correct. So, public health improvements such as better sewage and waste disposal systems help control disease and improve living conditions in cities. So that was the one of the major successes of the early urban planning movement. So we're moving quick. So we're now down to the last three items. Answer. Ladies. I also want ladies to unmute.
Letter D, ma'am. Industrial zoning.
And why? Sige nga, why?
Ah, Industrial zoning po kasi when you separate industrial zones from the residential areas, you give away for uh, economic growth while reducing the harm of it from the residentials or the constituents of the area.
Okay. Okay, let's see. For letter A, urban sprawl, it says, so the question is, a city planner is tasked with developing a transportation system, so that minimizes carbon emissions while promoting economic growth. Then which planning concept is best applied? Of course, urban sprawl leads to environmental degradation and increased emissions, so that's negative. Then, land reclamation naman addresses spatial constraints but not carbon emissions. And then, for letter D, industrial zoning does not consider environmental and economic integration. So, it's zoning. So, when you establish industrial zones, is it the best? Is it the planning concept that should be best applied to this transportation?
It should be smart growth po pala,
Okay,
ma'am.
that's correct. So, smart growth, kasi nakakalito kasi there are two words, lalo na pag madami, no? There are two words there, industrial and zoning. So, pag biglang tingin, you might really be tempted to answer industrial zoning. But you're just looking at the first word probably. And then, but it's the zoning, zoning yung kanyang industrial zoning. So, the correct answer is letter B, smart growth, because it focuses on sustainable, walkable, and transit-oriented development. But it's a broad one, but of course, it's the closest answer, no, to reduce emissions while fostering economic opportunities. So, smart growth. Uh, yeah, please don't be confused in there, okay? So, can go to the second to the last.
Letter A, ma'am.
Yes, it's correct. Letter A. Because B, question is in planning for a coastal city, which approach should be applied and ensure long-term sustainability while addressing climate change risks. So, pag B ay expanding urban areas,
Specific.
urban development,
Um,
diba?
Ma'am, pwedeng pabalik
MCQ
sa
14 po ata yung
Ay,
naka-flash.
sa
Pwede pong
naka-flash.
paba.
Oo pala,
Yes,
no?
ma'am.
Okay. Mali. Okay. That's last one. Okay. O, yan. So, in planning for a coastal city, ito ba yung ina-answeran mo kanina?
Yes po, ma'am.
Hindi 14, ano? So, gumalaw siya, no? So, okay. In planning for a coastal city, which approach should be applied to ensure long-term sustainability? So, you're correct there for answering A, because for B, expanding urban areas without environmental safeguards increases risk, right? So, and for letter C naman, prioritizing industrial development for economic gains, it's focusing solely on industrial development that may harm natural habitats. And then letter D naman, encouraging unregulated tourism growth is because, it's negative. Unregulated tourism, it leads to environmental degradation. So it's only letter A, implementing ecosystem-based management. It is the one, it's is um the approach is because that considered ecological harm or ecological health, sorry, and community needs, helping coastal areas adapt to climate change. So, the last one.
A pa rin po, ma'am.
Okay.
Letter
Letter
A,
A
ma'am.
po. Letter A.
A, all right. So because let's go over other incorrect answers. B, expanding mining operations without assessing risk, negative. 'Di ba? It contradicts sustainability principle. Then letter C naman is prioritizing short-term economic gains. It neglects long-term environmental impacts. I think should be easy for you to answer this type of questions, right? So don't be swayed by those terminologies there, and you need to positive, negative, parang ganon. So it's one of the strategies. Letter D are removing regulatory barriers to speed up uh, construction projects. It can lead to unforeseen environmental consequences as well. So letter A is, of course, conducting EIA before project approval. So it's one of those precautionary precautionary principle emphasizes preventive actions to mitigate potential environmental harm before development. So that's it. Tomorrow, we will be anyway, ganito. If you review your YouTube, yung mga recording natin ay we can already have advanced lessons on history and foundation of planning. Already have but of course I will, after all the subject areas, for the three subject areas for that under the table of specifications, I will proceed right away um to the in-depth discussions already about all those concepts that we tackled in three subject areas. So this one is just to give you a feel and to give you what to expect uh, during the board exams, so to make sure that we have a direction also in our review, in our preparation. Okay, so but for those who have access already, you can, I have already some lessons there. Napakadami na doon. So thank you for tonight. Please please come at 9 p.m. Okay, so I can tackle number 3 and number 4. Okay, so good night.